Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back, and it is time for another Starcraft 2 1 vs 1 replay cast. We have got ourselves a good one here. In the top right-hand side of the map, playing for Cosmos Esports, it is souL. And the part of the reason why I'm so excited for this match is because it's going to be souL taking on Serral. For Team and Serral, one of the best late game ZVT players, and souL, one of the best TvZ late game players. And these guys have had some great matches in the past. For those of you that have followed the channel a while, some of the bigger videos on the channel was actually souL versus Serral. And so I'm excited to be casting this again, kind of revisit this matchup between these two, as I believe they do practice quite a bit. And so yeah, we're on the map, actually one of the newer maps, Giganatha, I hope I pronounced that one right. It's gonna take a bit of time, that's a bit of a mouthful. But yeah, it should be fun to watch souL taking on Serral in a TvZ. It's gonna be a tall order because Serral is such a menace in TvZ. But I think souL is a Terran who's underrated in the matchup if he can play the game he wants to play, and that's actually the late game. I remember I was talking to souL, being like, "Hey, have you played any more like epic late game TvZs against like Serral or whatever?" And he's like, "No, he just kills me before I can get there now." And so that was actually kind of interesting when he said that, because it's basically saying, "No, Serral doesn't want to play the late game against me." And so, yeah, that's really cool. But, yeah, we've got ourselves an epic TvZ. If we can hit 100 likes on this video, ladies and gentlemen, that would be amazing. Breaking 100 likes for kind of revisiting these two playing each other. It's been too long since I cast a souL game, and it's always good to cast Serral. So, we take a look here as far as the builds go. It is pretty standard stuff. There's no major footnotes there. Reaper moving across the map. And then factory on the way for souL, getting up that reactor. Makes the one Marine. Serral is a guy who is known to go for those earlier pools. Well, not really known, but he can do it every now and then. And just because he's a very good late game Zerg doesn't mean you can write him off in the early game. And so yeah, souL not cutting any corners there, like skipping the Marine. You want the Marine to deny the Overlord Scout too. And we see him just microing the Reaper against Serral right now. Both these players just going ham with their APM, pretty darn high right now. Spiking up around the 400s for both of them. And we see souL just cruising around with his Reaper, probably going to keep that around as long as possible to delay the Zerg's third as long as possible. But the first Reaper not going to get too much done. We saw Serral micro his Lings back. They're now pretty much all regened, like it never happened. We take a look. A lair's on the way for Serral, so a 3-minute lair. That's quite noteworthy. The Reaper for souL did actually just manage to grab itself a creep tumor, though. That's rather nice. Slowing down the Zerg's creep is very, very important. And souL actually behind this is going to be going for a medivac, so he's going to be able to elevate his Hellions into Serral's base. And since it looks like Serral's going to be going for basically a high Muta count, or basically probably for Mutas, off the back of his 2 bases, kind of like that 2.5 base Muta, then Hellions can sometimes get a lot of damage done to that play because Zergs will cut corners going for Mutas. So we see Serral, he's getting up the Baneling Nest for safety. However, is he prepared for the medivac to potentially lift these Hellions into his base? Serral, as we take a look right now, only has 4 Zerglings. He's got 5 Queens, yes, but he is actually cutting some corners right now. 4 Lings against a Terran who's got this many Hellions is not an ideal number. souL just about, oh, you gotta get that Hellion in there, souL. Gotta get him in there. There we go. Cat's kind of out of the bag, though, as the Hellion loads up right in front of that, but Serral still only has the 4 Zerglings and the Queens to defend this, and Queens are pretty darn slow. So in come the Hellions. Serral is going to rely on an Evo block to slow down these Hellions. They do get 1 shot off. That's going to deal a little bit of damage to the economy of Serral. However, souL has came here expecting to get much more. He gets three drones in all, gets out with the Hellions and the medivac, but he was probably hoping for more damage, so we'll see if he's able to get that done. And it looks like he is just going to throw his other Hellions into the natural of the Zerg. Serral, however, handles it excellently, as we see. These Hellions, they try and get a shot off. Looks like they get one shot off, soften up so many of those drones, but not a kill. The rest of the Hellions are going to head to the main base, though, so Serral taking a little bit of damage. Looks like he loses 7 drones in all, but for 8 Hellions and the Reaper, not a bad defense from Serral. We take a look, Serral behind this. He does have that Spire just about to finish up, so he's going to have that Muta control, and souL's just going to have to play it passive, it seems like, at this point in the game, because you can't really push out on a larger map. That's what Jag looks like, and seeing as how Serral's got the Mutas, souL's pretty much thrown away everything that he has in those Hellions, that he's kind of just got to stay home for now. He does have Stimpack done, he does have that Marine production starting to roll, but if we actually take a look, it's 4 Marines and 1 Medivac against what's going to be 5 Mutas, so it does go to show how souL has got very, very few units. We see he is going to be getting his upgrades on the way, 1-1 popping out. Turrets are now starting to get up for souL, timing those out rather well. It looks like the Mutas are going to be a little bit to get across this map. And so the turret should be finished in time. Serral, though, a player who will get damage done if there's damage to be done. It looks like this SCV that's building this barracks could be the first target, and looks like it is. The Muta's going to be getting, or they'll have to dance around this missile turret, but it won't be directly repelled by it, so they're going to be a pain, work away on this refinery. Marines for souL have stimmed. They're going to come on in, try and get one of those Mutas. The red one does escape, though, staying alive. souL floats over his 3rd base, and notably, he's already getting up a bunker at his 3rd. Between the gases, between the turrets, add a little bit more defense there, as Serral, of course, will be hitting him wherever he can. We see these Mutas now flying towards the natural base, going to be able to pick up some SCVs in transition. So souL actually taking a fair bit of damage to this. Turret shoots a Muta, actually kills it off, which is rather nice. 1 Muta going down. Serral, on his side of the map, I imagine we'll be seeing a 4th base go up soon. Not sure which location it will be, but there it is, on the right-hand side of the map. An armory is now on the way for Serral, or for souL, pardon me. And yeah, for now, souL looks like he's just going to be powering up on the 3 bases. No 4th base, so it's not like he's rushing towards the late game or anything like that. We do take a look here. There is an Evo chamber on the way for Serral, so he wants to be able to get his upgrade starting to go. souL does have a significant upgrade lead for now. His 1-1 is about to finish, whereas Serral is still back. Oh, Widowmine's getting off, by the way, at Serral's 3rd base. Really nicely done. Actually kills off quite a number of drones there. So wow, that was actually really, really good for souL. Getting a nice Widowmine drop-off. His armory is actually about to finish up, so he could, in theory, unload those mines and burrow them to keep them alive, but, oh, one of them does escape. Forces an Overseer to morph, actually going to take a little bit of Serral's time. The Lings are going to be sent there to deal with that. souL's now starting to move out on the map with his units. He's got 2 full Medivacs to the left. His army is moving to the right-hand side. However, if we take a look, Serral's actually just been building a grotesque amount of Mutas. He's really been neglecting everything else, but he's making a ton of Mutas now. While the Mutas are being distracted dealing with that smaller portion of souL's army, this drop is going to get off into the main base. These drones are going to be taking a little bit of damage. Queen goes down. The mine and souL's bio is now getting situated in here. Does Serral even have any banelings out? Looks like the answer is no. souL going to unburrow that Widowmine, make sure he's got that in the hopper. He's going to be able to pick off the spawning pool of the Zerg, which is always nice to get. This Widowmine might even be able to hit the drones. Serral splits off at the last second, loses about 4 drones there to that mine hit. Gonna clean this up, does cost him a Muta, does cost him a fair bit of mining time. And now souL is going to be pushing with the rest of his bio towards the 4th base of Serral. This base hasn't been mining at all, so Serral's economy really not in that great of a spot. He's been committing so much to Mutas. More Mutas than I'd say we usually see a Zerg go for. Zergs are pretty confident with a lot of LaughNgamez these days, but Serral is just relying on a ton of Mutas and just a few units on the ground. And that might actually come back to bite him, as his Mutas are having to trade with these Marines. They will clean everything up, but it did cost him some Mutas. souL is going to be pushed back up this ramp. He does have a mine that will take out those Banelings. But yeah, souL gonna have to head on home for now. His Marines are gonna engage the Mutas. Look at them cutting into them, though. That was like 3 Mutas for like 8 Marines. Not a good trade for Serral. And the Muta count has actually fallen. We've seen 8 Mutas go down this game. Serral, however, did keep that 4th base alive, so very important. I imagine we'll even see him try and sneak up a 5th base sometime in the future. And maybe not right away, but in a minute or two, I think we'll see a 5th base attempt. Because it's really important for Zerg to have a backup. We see souL trying to push out with his army, however, it's not that big of an army. He's kind of just rallying whatever units he can across the map. So Serral, I think, should be able to deal with this like he's dealt with the last attacks. We see him getting on top of the bio. The upgrades are even. The Marines are kiting, trying to get his maximum damage out on those Lings. But yeah, we take a look. Mine's getting shots off on the Lings, but souL is being pushed on home. Widowmine gets targeted down right away by those Mutas, and souL is being repelled now. That being said, while this is going on, he's got a drop going on in Serral's base. The Widowmine's actually going to be running towards the ramp where souL knows the drones will be running. Does the mine get a shot off? Serral splits that drone at the last second. Excellent control by the Finnish Zerg player. souL, though, he's not being slowed down. He does have this 4th base going to be getting established. And that's kind of just going to be a launch point, probably, to keep this attack going. Another Widowmine's going to be moving towards the 4th base of Serral. Although Serral, once again, excellent dodge on that Widowmine shot. Just letting one drone take one for the team there. souL's 2-2 is now done, so his bio is going to be looking very ferocious against the Zerg player's army. It's a long push distance still, though, that he's got to deal with. And how many Banelings does Serral have? The answer is none. But he's playing with 25 Mutalisks against souL right now. And he's just had enough to constantly clear the Terran army. There was a few Banelings there, but not too many. souL's starting to push forward with his Widowmines, and he does have a Thor on the way, which is very important against a mass Muta style that Serral's playing. The Mutas are just in position here to defend this 4th base. We see souL coming in at a pretty good concave. Does eat a few Baneling connections, but he's still got a rather large amount of bio on the ground. Serral's going to have a hard time cleaning this up. souL's going to be running away. Does he split those Marines to avoid the Banelings? Not as well as he could have. He was busy microing that Thor. Most of the Banelings are gone now, though, but there is enough Zerg to clean up this Terran force once again. And it seems that in all of these trades, Serral is going to be losing just a few Mutas. Just a few Mutas. Enough to basically justify keeping this many Mutas. Like, it seems that he would normally be trading out more Lings and Banes to clean this up. Instead, he's just got a higher count of Mutas that is really helping clean up what the Zerg had, or what the Terran has, pardon me. And this is actually really quite interesting, because Serral's barely been using the Mutas for any offense. He's really just been relying them strictly for defense, taking fights against this Terran army, because souL's been attacking constantly with smaller and smaller with small-ish portions of a Terran force. We see the Terrans constantly been trading out. Both players have lost a lot of resources. souL more than Serral at this point in the game, about 3,000 more. And he's just been attacking with smaller amounts of Terran bio supply. Like, his supply hasn't ever got that high this game. He's got more bio moving out on the map. Maybe gonna join up with this army for a push. We'll see, though. This is where things could become a bit of a pain for souL. We see Serral is now moving in towards the 3rd base. These Mutas picking off these depots like it's nothing, because there's such a high count for Serral. 24 Mutas. They've got the +2 flyer attack. They're getting the +2 flyer carapace. So Serral playing a very, not just mass Muta style, but he's playing very upgrade focused on the Mutas. It's pretty rare these days, which you actually see is there get 2-2 on the Mutas, I feel. Taking a look, we now see an infestation pit on the way for Serral, so he is starting to transition. He's going to have to push souL back here once again, though, and he does an alright job with that. He hasn't had too many Banelings this game, but now he does. And he's going to be trying to use them to defend his 6th base. souL's sending his Marauders forward to try and tank these Bane hits. In comes Serral, sectioning off just a few of the Banelings, but great splits by souL. He forces a cancel on the 6th base of the Zerg. Keep in mind, that was the 6th base, not the 5th base, so Serral's still on a pretty good economy. He's got the Mutas now moving into the main base of souL, and this is 24 Mutas. This is the kind of production-destroying amount of Mutas. They're going to target down this factory. It's just going to disappear. souL is going to be tight-pressed to try and get rid of these Mutas. He can try and make something happen on the other side of the map, but that's putting the Terran between a rock and a hard place. It's not going to be easy for him to push on in while simultaneously defending his bases from all these mutas. The mutas are just now ransacking the fourth base after hitting the main. souL will keep the Planetary Fortress alive. He's trying to push, but he's just got to kite back from all these banelings. He's going to have to split like a god, and he is doing a pretty darn good job splitting there, taking care of the Banes, and he's actually broken through and is going to be pushing into Serral's fifth base. Does he have enough to actually make this push happen, though? It's going to be really, really close, splitting individual Marines against the Banelings, but Serral does seemingly have just enough Banelings. This push is lethal enough, though, from souL. A big enough of a threat to Serral that he might be pulling his Mutas home. We'll see. souL does manage to actually deal with Serral's Mutas on his side of the map, though. He's thrown up a lot more turrets respecting these. One thing that I would love to see from souL is building armor or high-sec auto-tracking to really buff up these missile turrets. For now, though, if we take a look at the game, supplies remained pretty constant on both sides. Serral not building up to that huge bank that makes him comfortable, not getting to establish a mass baneling count because souL's been constantly forcing him to trade. And now if we take a look, the Terran has got a really, really high amount of bio. Widowmine drop is getting cleaned up, though. Serral picking off the mines, clicking each one down as it was about to be dropping out there. And we take a look right now, souL, not to be deterred, is going to push on in. Serral has reestablished another 6th base location. He's also got the one for a 7th on the left side building, so they're really starting to get up a lot of bases for a Zerg. souL wanted to target that down, but I feel like he might have overextended a little bit here, having to lift up some of his units into his medivacs to get rid of them. The Mutas might be on the tail of this, but they are far enough away that souL will be able to unload those units. souL will be able to unload those units. Those full medivacs making me real nervous. One of them gets picked off, pretty much full of Marines, and souL takes a big loss there. The Terran player, while this is going on, has got up a 5th base. souL's steadily been creeping up, getting more and more bases. So he does have a 6th base building right now. He's got another Widowmine drop going to be moving out on the map. And neither player seems to be super focused on getting a win in this game right away. Like souL, he's been constantly pushing, but it's not like he's gone for an all or nothing timing attack or an all or nothing push. Serral, on the other hand, has just been harassing with his Mutas, shutting down whatever souL sends his way. And as a result, we've seen souL steadily get up more bases, but we've also seen Serral now start to reach that scary Zerg stage, which is going to have the 3/3 adrenal glands, chitinous plating on Ultralist, and all that good stuff. We see a Widowmine drop for souL. Has been getting off. I'm not sure how many drones that it has killed. There's been 57 that have gone down this game, so souL definitely has been doing work. He is actually going to target down that hatchery and gets it nicely done. He knows that the Mutas are on his side of the map, giving him grief, so he is fine to hang around a little bit longer in that location. The Marines he had defending that 4th base were a little bit out of position, though, and if we take a look right now, souL doesn't have a single add-on into his main base. He's actually going to unload bio in a very, very bold play, pretty much right next to these Mutas, so those Marines will get the job done, but I think souL's actually just going to have to reestablish all these add-ons here. He's having a very hard time defending his main base from the Mutas, as they can easily bounce between the 4th, bounce to the main, and Serral, oh man, is really starting to build up that baneling count. 45 banelings in all. Widowmines are going to drop towards the 7th base of Serral, but it looks like that there was just enough. Well, that Serral didn't actually have enough drones there for it to really be worth it. If he had maybe gone towards this base, he could have got more damage done. And okay, this is what happens when a Zerg has a ton of Ling Bane. They start to get confident enough to throw it around a bit, and so we see Serral, he's starting to move out with a lot of his Lings, a lot of his Banes. He's still got a good chunk at home, or a bigger chunk at home back to defend, but he might be able to crack this Planetary of souL. souL gonna run the SCVs away. He's gonna try and repair the PF, but it will not hold. Most of the SCVs do stay alive, and souL does have an extra command center, so he will be able to just plop that down. It was planning on expanding, or on being an expansion, but in the end, it will just have to be a replacement base to souL. He's throwing up another CC. He's got another one building in the center, too. You always want to have a backup CC as a Terran, because Zerg does do this. They do this quite a bit. Serral rocking the cool classic Ultralist skin. We see these Marauders gonna have to try and run away from the Banelings. Actually a really good trade there for souL. Looked a little bit dicey at first. Now we see Serral gonna be trying to pick off this command center, forces a cancel, nicely done. souL, fortunately, he does have that extra base build, and look at this, he is taking note to always throw up an extra CC, always have one building if you've got the resources to do so. souL has got up quite a few turrets at this base, but it might not be enough, seeing as how Serral does actually have just such a high amount of mutas still. He's just still up at 17, which is a very significant amount. That being said, souL's going to be pushing into Serral. He's got just a ton of Marauders to absorb Banelings, so most of Serral's Banes are going to disappear. He's going for a surround with the Mutas, with the Ultras, but yeah, enough Marines for souL, and really good positioning on the high ground with those Marines in order to take a great trade against what Serral has. The souL, now he's going to push on in. The Zerg player has burned most of his Banelings, and this base is actually potentially going to get targeted down. The Mutas are working away on the Marauders, which is a little bit risky for souL. The Marines are trying to help, but there is actually just a lot of Banelings there to make the Marines hesitate. But now Serral's gone through most of his Banelings. He's got another round just finishing up, though, so souL will have to back up. All the Marauders do get cleaned up by the Mutas and the Lings. souL gonna have to try and run away. Widowmine's going off, getting actually good connections on the Lings. Not often you see great connections like that against Serral, but he was pretty hell-bent on chasing that army away. souL gonna be establishing this base to the left side, but Serral thinks he's gonna take it too. A little bit ambitious for Serral, I think, taking that base. However, he has found this command center, but the Muta count has actually been thinned out a little bit. 16 is starting to get down there in numbers. The bases now all have that building armor, so they are much more tanky. The Mutas can't just pick off buildings as easily. souL gonna keep trying to pressure Serral on the left side. He is down on supply, a rather large amount. He's not giving up just yet, though. He's got Marines gonna be pushing these Mutas away as Serral is transitioning into more Ultras and Lings as opposed to replacing his Mutalist count. Yet he is getting more Flyer Carapace, so taking note to keep those upgrades going. souL gonna be losing his E-Bays maybe, but that's not too big of a deal. And the Terran player actually getting up this PF without the Zerg surging forward to break it is pretty darn significant. This is going to be a good anchor point for souL, having this Planetary Fortress. His main base is getting ransacked by these Mutas a little bit still. Widowmines are popping out and stuff, but yeah, just enough Mutas to keep giving souL quite a bit of grief. So he's going to have to send some of his bio back, and he's actually going to send pretty much all of it back to deal with these Mutas. Once again, the real MVP of this game. Yes, a lot of them have gone down, but Serral has got really good value out of them. The Zerg was maybe planning a counterattack, however, it is a Planetary Fortress at that location. And I guess Serral realizing that souL probably wasn't going to let him have that left side base, so he decides to expand up to the right-hand side. And that's actually going to... Yeah, this one of these bases should be Serral's, right? Or no, this should be souL's base here. But Serral's taken it, souL wants it, and he's actually going to be floating a base over to it, but he's not going to be allowed to get it. We see Serral hitting this location, once again, a lot of vulnerable SCVs, but they do actually manage to repair the PF. The Ultra is going to get targeted down, be forced back. souL, keep in mind, this entire game has just been playing with bio mine, for the most part. He's thrown in a few Thors here and there, but yeah, mainly just bio Widowmine play. souL starting to micro on two fronts with his bio armies. Widowmine's getting actually a really good shot off on the Mutas. And now souL, he's going to be establishing his base on the right-hand side while also trying to defend his base on the left-hand side. He might actually just have a perfect split right now. He's got the PF, got a good chunk of bio to reinforce it. We'll see if he's able to defend on both, on one front while attacking on the other. Serral crashing on in will break this Planetary Fortress. The Mutas getting on top of the Marauders. Not enough Marines to defend those. souL, however, has pushed the right-hand side. He has been able to break down that hatchery, and so it's basically being a base for a base here. Ultras are coming in to attack this PF. It does have that building armor to help heal it up, and now Marines and Marauders are coming in to target down these Ultras. souL did stop repairing it, though. I guess he ran out of money, as a matter of fact, and now he is just trading down on the bottom side. There's a lot of Marines here. They are going to have to get evacuated. No Marauders to target down that Ultralist. But I do think souL came out worse with this sort of trade. He's lost a lot of his orbitals, a lot of his bases too. So he's actually only a 3-orbital Terran, and another command center on the right-hand side. So the Terran's really starting to run out of money. We take a look. I think Serral has weathered the souL storm. He has traded out just well enough, and maybe that was because souL just stayed on the Marine Marauder. Maybe he didn't sneak up a few more orbitals. I really did like what he was doing on the left side here, and the right side when he was attacking the right while trying to defend the left. But Serral, in the end, was just confident, had enough in order to defend those locations. souL's got a decent chunk of bios still going to try and make one final battle happen, but take a look. There's so much Zerg surging forward. There's no Widow Mines for souL. I think Serral's going to be the one who takes it. GG gets called. Serral is the victor of that game, and well played by Serral, just showing us that he is really, really good at ZVT. I think it was awesome to see souL just try and take a longer game against Serral, utilizing just bio, basically, against a Zerg player. It's a thing that Terrans have been doing more and more lately, but against someone like Serral, it is a very, very bold play. Still, though, a great game of StarCraft 2. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this one, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord, which is linked down below, and then, of course, there is that membership option if you do want to get various perks and support the channel. My name is LaughNgamez. I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching.